Alright, I just did the last video. If you watched that, I showed you this Bandpass section right here. And I mentioned there's cams. And there's a cam on each side of this cage. And this cam lowers and raises the rails that the coil slug is on. The coil slug is suspended from this bolt with a thin wire, and then the slug of ferrite material goes in and out of the coil, much like the old car radios of the 60s, the Mopars. And I told you about which bands they were. They all move together. Now I want to give you some eye candy. You ready? Here's some eye candy. I'm going to turn the band switch, and we're gonna watch these cams all move. Now they all have to move because they're on a gear system. Now over there, let's make sure it's in the shot. I'm going to turn the main tuning, and that cam there is moving the rail up and down, which has the front end coils for the AM broadcast band. It's the two bands after AM broadcast, which used to be Marine band, and then it has coils for the IF, and the tuned IF coils. There's four of them. Two of them are used as a transformer on the evens bands, and then there's the odd bands. So you got four coils. Two each are used on each type of band. You know, you got your odd and even. It's just, you got to go look at the math on this radio. This radio is not like any other radio. Now, what's triggered this video is I got recommended another piece of crap repair a radio video, and I put it on. I clicked it, and first thing the person does is change the line cord. He puts a shock, electrical shock absorbing resistor. It's like a thermistor on the radio. So when the radio first turns on, it takes the shock of the inrush current. You don't need that, but he puts that on, and then he changes all the resistors that are out of tolerance. But the old radios had resistors that really they weren't. I think no color at all is 20%. And then there were cheaper resistors that were even worse than that. There's nothing wrong with those resistors, but they changed that. They changed all the capacitors. They shotgun the radio, and then suddenly, while they're doing the video or whatever, another problem is rearing its ugly head, but it's the original problem of the radio. And I tend to go along with what Shango says. I do ohm out a few things real quick, and then I put the radio on, and I get an idea what's wrong with it before I change anything. And I change just the parts that are bad. Then I run it for 2 hours, and then I consider it repaired. Really old radios, over 50 years old, if I find 3 or 4 capacitors that are bad, a certain kind, a certain brand, I change them all. I know they're just going to keep failing. And that's where I'm at. And I just wanted to give you the eye candy, you know, main tuning, cam, operational. Ooh, look at that. You'll see that like no other radio out there except like a Collins R390. A Collins R390, instead of having a rounded over piece of metal riding on the cam, they have a little bearing. Now I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to try to get a shot of the gears. Alright, in the shot here, let me point to it. This is a gear train, right in here. And when you turn, let's see, first we'll turn. Yeah, there's a little bit of movement with the main tuning. But to really see it move, again, let's see if we have an overlap. Yeah, we do. We have an overlap of the bandpass filter section. And there it is. So in other words, and then there's also dial cord up on this radio. This radio has it all. It has 15 tubes, It's got this special VFO, which is called a PTO. And if you really get into radios, you should at least touch one of these once. Now, I told you, I repaired some of these back when they weren't in such bad shape. And it was usually a tube. There was one that they never soldered the ground wire on a filament tube on the pin, so they had a piece of cardboard stuck in there. The radio actually saw service on a Navy ship. And then there was another one. The guy thought he had a weird noise in it, but it turned out it was the satellite he was tracking. But I've seen one of these. I've had one of these in my possession, but I never really got into it. It had covers on it in certain places. It was a different model. And I didn't pay really attention to this. I was just, I knew the guy had a bad tube. I went through, I found the tube. And they had other problems, so I didn't get like really into like bandpass filter and like, well, how exactly did they do that? And I told you, it bothered me. I started building a circuit off the schematic itself in solid state, and I said, well, let me see how they did it mechanically. And then I clicked on it on eBay and I bought this thing. And yes, for $530, I expected much better condition. I expected the cover on the radio. I know you take the cover off to take pictures, but you should put in the description that it's missing the cover. But eBay is eBay. It's e-dumpster. The radios get passed around, and when the person can't fix it, they put it on eBay, or they botched it. This has had so many hands on this radio, and it was just because of the wafer switches. And there are people, oh, you just spray them. Well, there was something seriously wrong with them. They were coated in carbon. I don't know how it happened, and you would say it was oxidation. Yes, but it was so thick, it was incredible. So it was 70 years of being sprayed with acid type of cleaners, and it built up this really thick track on the wafer switches themselves, and it required scrubbing it with an eraser. People could say, well, you get a metal bristle brush out, or they'll shoot from the hip if you ask anybody. But I know to use an eraser gently, and I showed you my erasers. I've shown you my techniques. When I fix something, I try not to do any harm to it. I try not to make it worse than it already is, and that's my motto. But what got me going was I keep getting recommended these videos of people that fix the simplest radio. They change everything on the radio and it still don't work because they don't know what they're doing. But yet they put the video on eBay and it gets recommended to me. And I try to make my video different than everybody else's. I try to show you what you're going to run up against. I warn you about what's really in the radio. I tell you your level of expertise better be up at this level. And people get mad at me. Oh, you tell me I can't fix something. Yeah, let's be a blowhard. Let's be a braggart. Buy the thing and not know what you're doing. Then wait 3 months, and I won't recognize your name when you ask me for help. Hilarious. That's my whole life has been about that. And I don't want to go into another rant. This was all about giving you some eye candy. This radio is like no other. It's similar to a Collins 390. Now, you get the arguments of those, oh, it's got to be a genuine Collins. Blah, 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 blah. You're always going to have that. And it's in every hobby. There's the guy, he's got the best, and he's going to rub your nose in the fact that you don't have the best. And the best thing to fix him is to ignore him. When he answers you back, read his email, but don't reply to him. It makes them nuts because they really think there's something. I, on the other hand, I put the time in. I put the time in on this radio. Even though, like I said, I was going to put it away, it bugged at me. Now it's 100% functional, along with its dust and its dirt. I know other people, they would spend the first 2 days just cleaning this, and then they wouldn't know how to fix it. I know how to repair it and how it works. I didn't know that this, let's see if it's in the frame. This thing here looks like I thought it might be a regulator, some type of bimetal switch to run the oven inside the PTO. No, it's got desiccant in it. It keeps the inside of the PTO dry That's what's in there. Who would think, right? Looks like a spark plug. You need a spark plug wrench to get it out of there. No, I've never seen one before. Now I have. Now I know what it is. And the oscillator tubes in here. This is not a capacitor. And that's what I went up at. And I stay away from the conferences now. But what's happening is they keep recommending videos to me, and I click on it, and the guy goes all the way through the radio. He shotguns everything out of it, and then it still doesn't work. And I'm like, and then of course I look at the date of the video, and he doesn't have a part two. He never fixed the radio. He just changed all the parts, and that's the stuff that makes me crazy, and that's the things I'm trying to stay away from. I think that's it. All right, that's it.